Hey everyone. So today we are going to talk about Mint. It's a new app that we have created, and it's meant to be a better version of the bank reconciliation process in ERPNext. You can see, a little bit of how it looks, and I'm really excited about this. This might be a very long video. I haven't really planned this video very well. All I'm going to do is show the product, reconcile some transactions in front of you, and show the smart features that it has. So this might take some time. Having said that, why did we build a new bank reconciliation tool? So if you look at the existing bank rec tool in ERPNext, it's not very intuitive, because you have all of these vouchers or these transactions that have come in, and then you need to match them to certain vouchers. Or you could create a voucher, or you could update a bank transaction, but then let's say if you wanted to do a transfer, you couldn't do that. And even these, it's over here, it's not very intuitive as to what matches. Now, in this case, there's only one transaction that actually matches. So it sort of makes sense. But if you have like 10, 15 payment entries, it's very difficult to figure out which one it is, especially if all of them are the same amount. And then overall in ERPNext, the banking functions are all spread across different reports and different doc types. So for example, if you reconciled it incorrectly and you wanted to undo the reconciliation, depending on what you did, you would either go to the bank transaction and unreconcile it, or you would have to find the payment entry or journal entry that you created and then cancel that. The other thing is there are a bunch of reports, for example, the bank reconciliation statement, which is often used. Then you've got a bank clearance summary, and all of them have the same inputs, right? And so when you're reconciling your banks, you actually need all of these reports at the same time. And at least that's how I use it. So I usually have multiple tabs open and then try to, keep them in sync. So let's say if I'm doing, bank reconciliation for bank A, but for April, I'll set up a bunch of these reports and then go from there. So again, it's not very seamless. So that's why I wanted to fix it. I also wanted to make it really smart and give users the flexibility on how they want to configure certain rules. So we'll get to that, but let's get started with Mint. So let's first cover the absolute basics, right? How do we select a company? How do we set up date ranges? How do we set up the bank accounts and credit cards? And what do the different balances and the progress bar mean on the interface? So when you open up Mint, so what I'm going to do, just a disclaimer, I have my company's account over here, right? And I have my own personal account over here. So you'll see a bunch of credit cards. Do not judge. I have 6, 7 cards. And the bank and the company just has 2 bank accounts. But essentially, I'm going to show you examples out of both systems. And this is like real world data. So you might see certain transactions, but I honestly did not have enough time to create fake data and then record this video. So whatever. So when you open up your bank rec page, right? So first of all, you need to install Mint, which is again an open source app. You can get it on Frappe Cloud. And once you have installed it on your site, you need to go to /mint. So you can see over here, it's /mint, right? Once you open that up, it will take you to this page, and on the very top right, you will see a selector for the company. So you have a company selector over here. I'll switch to this tab just to show it. So I have a company by my own personal name, but if you have multiple companies, you would be able to select those. By default, it will pick your default company, whatever is set in Frappe. And then on the far right, you will see a date picker. Now, for this date picker, what I wanted to do was make it like really simple. So normally when we reconcile banks, we either do it for the current month or for the previous month. So you have got this month and last month, right? Sometimes we might also want to do it for quarters. So you've got Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, depending on how you've set up your fiscal year. If it's April to March, or if it's January to December, whatever it is, it will figure out what the quarter should be. And this also gives you an option to look at this fiscal year and last fiscal year, which is very rare to do it, especially if you have a lot of transactions. But if you have like a card where there aren't a lot of transactions, it might make sense to just select the entire year. And so you've got these options. So for example, you could do last month, and what you'll see is that the entire UI actually gets updated, right? All of these balances, which we'll cover in a bit, they get updated based on the date range. All of these reconciled or unreconciled transactions and the vouchers that they get updated. You have different reports over here, which all get updated based on what date you pick over here. Now, you could also click over here and set up a custom date range if you wanted to. So you could say, let's say 15th May to, 27th June, like just random dates, right? And it will pick up date range. Or what you could do is you could just say, 2 weeks ago, right? And it will pick up 25th July. You could also do, instead of going to the date picker and clicking on all of those buttons, you could say 1st April 2025 to 30th April, and it will automatically, so whatever you're typing in natural language, it will just pick it up and give you the date range. So that's one. So you could type in anything over here. You could say May 2025, and it will give you 1st May to 31st May. So that's your date range. Now this company and this date range actually decide everything else on the screen, right? So this date range, this is the from and to date that you see normally in bank rec. And the bank reconciliation statement also requires that. You also have the bank clearance summary and incorrectly cleared entries, which also use either the to date or the from date, depending on what they require. So that's your first step. You set up your company and you pick a date range. Next, you will see all of these bank accounts, and if you have a lot of them, like I do over here, you can scroll through them. Normally, you would only have your bank accounts over here, just like I have. We've got 2 current accounts on the company side. For my personal accounting, I have savings accounts as well as credit cards. Now, you might be wondering, how did I set up credit cards over here? Well, the way that you do it is that each credit card is actually a liability account. So on the chart of accounts, it actually sits on the liability side, but you set up the account type as bank. And so what that means is, let me open up ERPNext. And so what that means is that in bank account, right, let's pick this ICICI Amazon Pay. I've set it up as a company account, and I've picked the liability account. So this is a liability account. See, root type is liability, but the account type is bank. And so it allows me to select in a bank account. Now what happens is that, let's say if there was an expense, you actually credit your liability. Normally you would credit your asset account or the bank account. And once you get payments, you debit your liability, which is essentially receiving money. So it works the same way. We have added one checkbox over here. This is something that Mint has added, which says is credit card. Check that. just so that when we create entries, they are classified as credit card entries and not bank entries. But it doesn't really matter. You can decide whether you want to set up credit cards or not, up to you. But once you do, you see all of these banks. The way that we are figuring out what the logos are is by looking at your bank value over here, and we've mapped very common logos, common banks. For example, we have mapped ICICI, all the top banks in India, all the top banks globally. So you can pick those up. Okay. Next, we'll look at these balances above, right? So your opening balance is essentially computed, as of the date, as of the starting date that you've set. So in this case, it's 1st of April. And so they computed using your GL. So it's practically the same thing, actually literally the same thing as the bank rec tool in ERPNext. The closing balance as per the system is essentially what ERPNext thinks that your closing balance should be on your bank statement based on what cleared your bank and not, right? So you might have created a bunch of payment entries, but they haven't cleared and they haven't been reconciled. So this is what ERPNext thinks is your closing balance in your bank statement. Your goal, right, when reconciling banks is to match this to whatever your bank statement actually says. And so yeah, we've given some explanation. What I usually do, and I mean this is just basic bank rec, but you set up you set up a date range, and then you put in your bank statement closing balance, and you get a difference, right? And the goal should be to get the difference down to 0. And then finally we have a progress bar. So this progress bar updates based on the selected bank. So how many transactions do we have for this period, and out of those transactions how many of them have been reconciled? So it's sort of like a progress bar, and you need to get to 100% hopefully. You can switch banks. So if I switch banks, so you'll see that all of the things change, right? My transactions change, my balances change, my progress changes. So you can just click on banks and switch between them. So that's the basics, and we'll get back to our slides because I don't remember what's next. Okay, yeah. So I was talking about how ERPNext has different reports, different parts of the software which are all related to banking, but you need to get around and apply the same filters and everything. So over here we actually have a unified way, right? So you do your bank reconciliation over here. This is the equivalent of the bank rec tool. The first tab, match and reconcile. Second is your bank rec statement. This is essentially all the vouchers that are there in the system, but they haven't cleared yet, or they haven't been reconciled to a bank transaction yet. And at the end of the bank reconciliation statement, in ERPNext, you get these values. And so what we're doing is that we're just extracting those values and showing it above over here. Next, you've got a list of all your bank transactions. So, okay, sorry about that. Some people keep interrupting, getting coffee. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, the third tab is bank transactions. So again, in ERPNext, you had to go to the bank transaction list, filter by the bank, filter by the date range. So what we do is that these are all the transactions that are whether they're reconciled, not reconciled, we don't really care, but they're all there. If they're partially reconciled, we show it like that, this is weird, but anyway. So these are all your bank transactions for that bank, for that date range. And so if you change the date range, this list will get updated as well. Next is the bank clearance summary. The bank clearance summary is essentially any transaction that has been posted in the system or voucher that has been posted in the system for that particular account that's linked to your bank. So the account is this one, right? And so anything that's posted is over here, and it also shows you whether whether the transaction has cleared or not, or whether it has reconciled with your bank transaction or not. And then finally we have incorrectly cleared entries. This is a very obscure kind of report. Like you don't really use it because you hope that there is no incorrectly cleared entries. But think about it this way: you posted a transaction on the 5th of April, and that transaction was reconciled to a bank transaction for 3rd of April. That's just not possible, right? You either posted on the 3rd of April or before that. I mean, it can only clear after you've posted it. So that's your incorrectly cleared entries. Thankfully, I don't have any. But if you did, this would show you that list. But moreover, it would also give you a button that says clear in state. And that's really helpful because it's actually the equivalence of the bank clearance function in ERPNext, where you can reset or you can change the clearance date of entries. So that's actually you would be able to do it over here itself. So again, so the idea is that this entire tool essentially combines all of the banking functions within ERPNext into one single interface. And so those are all the bank management tools. So what we'll do is we'll go to the next one, which is unreconciled transactions. So okay, now what we'll do is we'll look at this bank account, and for this date range it's got 8 unreconciled transactions. So on your match and reconcile tab, you actually get 2 sections. Left side is all your unreconciled transactions, right side is what you can match against or what you can do. Now remember that in ERPNext, this is essentially let's see, oh well, I'm in the wrong, yeah, in ERPNext you would go to actions, and then you would apply your filters, you would get some vouchers to match, or you would pick this or you would pick that, and it's a lot of clicks essentially. So over here you don't have that many clicks, because all you do is you can just select transactions over here, and the right hand side gets updated automatically. So you select this transaction and the right hand side gets updated. So we'll just focus on the unreconciled transactions for now. One of the most frustrating things that I found was that transactions on ERPNext did not have fuzzy search. So I couldn't search for, let's say, Swiggy, but where the word is a little different or something. For example, I can search for Frappe, but I can also search for FRAPE if I wanted to. And you can actually perform fuzzy search against a huge list of transactions. For example, I'll go and select this card, and I can just search for Swiggy, and it will show me all the Swiggy transactions, right? The other thing is that this filter actually persists. So what I mean by that is that in ERPNext, again, once you reconcile a transaction, the filters would just go away, and so you would be back to your original list, and that was very frustrating. Over here, these filters will actually persist. The other thing is that you can actually filter by amount. So let's say if you were looking for a very specific payment, so you could search by, do a fuzzy search and then search by amount. So you could say 485, and then you could also apply a filter on the type of transaction. So whether you want all transactions or just debits or credits, right? Oh, there's a credit. I got a refund from Swiggy. Okay, anyway, so that is your unreconciled transactions. It supports filtering by amount, by type, and fuzzy searching. And yeah, so that's that. Let's move on to the next part. Okay, yeah, now this is the fun part. Let's actually reconcile some transactions. So you can actually select transactions like I mentioned earlier, but once you select a transaction, the right hand side gives you options, right? So you have an option to record a payment. This is equivalent to a payment entry of type pay or receive, to a customer, supplier, employee, whatever it is. You can record a bank entry, which is essentially a journal entry, and we'll get to that in a bit, but you can also record a bank entry and split the transaction. So this is something that the ERPNext bank reconciliation tool doesn't allow you to do. You would have to click on edit in full page, it would take you to the journal entry screen, and then you would do it over there. But over here, you can actually you can split the transaction. We'll get to that. Or you could transfer. This is something that again ERPNext doesn't allow on the bank rec screen, but you could create a payment entry of type internal transfer and transfer between bank accounts. Below this, you actually get a list of payment entries, journal entries, whatever it is, to match against. And remember how I was saying that, I wanted to make it very intuitive that this is the suggested transaction, because, for example, I can switch bank accounts and let's pick this transaction. So this is a payment entry. And you'll see we have a bunch of other transactions over here, but this is the one that actually, matters because the amount matches. So you'll see visual indication that the amount matches, the date matches, and the reference also matches. Either the reference matches or the description matches. It will show you complete match, no match, partial match. And based on these criteria, it actually highlights that transaction is suggested. So this actually helps you to, to easily identify a transaction. And all you have to do is just hit reconcile. So if I hit reconcile, it's matched. And you'll see a toast over here, reconciled. There's also an undo button, and we'll get to that in a bit. But essentially, that's just how you reconcile. So it sort of looks like this. So you hit reconcile, right? And now let's say this transaction, right? Let's say incorrectly, I reconciled this one, in Frappe, or in ERPNext, you would have to go to the bank transaction list and undo. So that's what that undo action does, and we'll cover that later. But essentially, this is your match. Now, if you want to control what gets shown over here, you can click on the settings button, and you can say, okay, I only want vouchers which have the exact amount, right? So that filters your list drastically. I usually turn this on, and this persists, by the way. So it's not like, if I hit refresh and your company is persisted, your date range is persisted, let's see, and this is also persisted. So it actually remembers that, okay, this was your setting. You could also, put in other doc types over here, but I usually keep payment entry, journal entry, and show on the exact amount. So that's how you control your matching, right? What else do we have on this? Yeah. Now, so that's how you match to existing vouchers. By the way, once you match, if you go to the bank transaction list, you will see I matched a few right now. I think I matched these, and it says reconciled, right? So, and you can click on the view button, and it will open up the bank transaction if you wanted to view that. Anyway, let's go back. Now what we'll do is that we'll actually record some payments. Or record some transfers. So this is essentially creating a new voucher, and so I need to find something to worth creating though. So let's reconcile this one, and then this one is again from Frappe 52199. So I'm going to click on record payment. Now remember, this is a payment entry of type receive. So I'll just click record payment, and it's already set the payment entry type to receive and all of that. And in fact, because normally you would receive money from customers, and again, normally you would pay to suppliers, right? This is actually filtered. So it's by default, it selects customer. If I close this and I look at, for example, this one, and I do record payment. So by default it says supplier, but even the drop down options are ordered. So customer is at the very bottom because it's very rare that you actually pay a customer, depending on the industry obviously. But it selects supplier by default, but it also orders these options based on the type of payment entry it is. Let's go back over here and we'll record a payment. Now this is a payment from Frappe. I think this might be for Frappe School or for Frappe Cloud Marketplace. Whatever it is, I need to account for it. So I'm going to select a customer. Again, your customer, you can search. This doesn't support fuzzy searching though. So this is just the regular link fields that you get in Frappe. But you can select the customer. Now see, as soon as I selected that, right, it actually brought over all of the invoices that are pending to be paid for. So you look at this one, this is the sales invoice. I think this is it. You can also click on it and open it. So for example, this is a transaction for 48,333. It's got some GST, but I think it's this one. So you can either click on this checkbox or click on anywhere on the row, and it will tell you unpaid invoices from Frappe Technologies for 52,199. Your total is 57,032.94. If I hit select, it will allocate 52,199 to this. And normally that's how it should be. But if you wanted to book like a tax or a charge, like a bank charge or something in your payment entry, you could do that. And in this case, that's actually the TDS that has been deducted. So TDS on this would be 10%, which would be 4,800 something. So let's do this. There's a warning icon over here which says the invoice is not fully allocated, as there is a difference of 4833.94. Click to pay in full. So you can just click on that and it allocates the whole thing, right? So earlier, on the payment entry screen, you had to copy this and then you had to paste it and all of that. So you don't have to do anything like that. By the way, let me remove this and show you another thing. So you can also change your GL account. So by default, we pick up the GL account from the party and open up the pop-up immediately. So but you can also change your GL account and that will also open up the pop-up, but the GL account would be switched. This is only necessary if you have parties with multiple receivable or payable GL account codes. The other way to get through to this is to click this get unpaid invoices button. Same thing, click on that. I'll select this one, select, I need to pay this in full. So now that's your difference amount, 4833.94. That seems right because that's 10%. I don't know why that 94 cent is there, but okay. So we're going to book this as difference. So we'll click on this, and so I'll just show again what I did. So as soon as I paid it in full, it calculates the difference amount, right? And it highlights that in red that, oh, there's a difference, so this would be unallocated. So you can click on it and it will add as in the other charges and deduction table. Now over here, I just need to put in my account. Now, something about the account drop down, right? Now in ERPNext and all of the functions, not just banking, everywhere, right? The account drop down is a regular link field, and it is that way because it uses the framework, which is fine. But sometimes I just want to do fuzzy searching on this as well, because I might misspell, especially things like miscellaneous expenses. Like I can't even remember how many times I've misspelled it, and then the options are not shown. And so what we do is that when Mint loads, we load the entire chart of accounts, right? And we show it in a tree structure. So we show it group by parent, and we show all of them. that are eligible for that particular account or for that particular field, and then you can search. So you can do miscellaneous like that, but see how it also got other entries. So it sort of looks at like it does a fuzzy search for this, but in this case this is just TDS, so this will just be TDS, and I can pick that. By default it picks your main cost center, but you can pick other cost centers. I don't have any other cost center. And again, it's actually populated everything for you: the date, the reference number. You can put in some custom remarks if you want, or else it will be auto populated, but this is it. This is how you record a new payment for in Mint. And so if you hit submit, and it's reconciled, and it says bank entry created, and you have an undo button over here. So what we'll do is we look at that transaction, and in fact what I'll show you is the payment entry that was created in the backend. There's a filter here. Anyway, so this was created now, and posting date of 24/4, accounts are these, and this is your sales invoice. It's allocated the whole thing, and it's added a TDS, and you can view the ledger as well. So the TDS gets a debit of 4833.94. So that's how it creates a payment entry. Next is a bank entry. Now for this, let me see if I have some transactions, because this is my live system. I don't really want to do something messed up over here, but yeah, okay, good. These are the good ones. This is the rule matching that I was talking about, so let me actually find something nice for you. Okay, so this is a transaction, or maybe I can't find anything nice over here. Let's see. Okay, so this is Apple Media Services. I'm essentially getting a refund from Apple. I think this was for iCloud or something, and I don't have any vouchers for this transaction, but I can create a bank entry. And a bank entry is essentially equivalent of a journal entry. I mean, it is a journal entry, but of type bank. If this was a credit card, it would be of type credit card entry. It doesn't make a difference. But again, everything's populated, and all you have to do is set up the account where you want to split it into. So in this case, this would be software expense, because I'm essentially reducing my expense. So computer software and 99. Now, you could also split it across multiple accounts. So you could do, let's say, $50, and then you have a difference amount. You click over there, and then you can, pick miscellaneous expenses, and that would also work, but I don't need to do that, so I'll delete this. So essentially what this would do, right, because you're receiving money, it would debit the bank, and you're essentially putting in your credit entries. If you entered in a negative amount, it would just become a debit entry, and you can do that. That's allowed. The other thing is that, let's say if you wanted to take a payment, this is very rare, but you might have a situation where you're paying, or you're taking a payment from multiple parties, but there's only one bank transaction. So on a journal entry, as you know, you can put in a party type and party. Over here, you can do the same. You can pick, a customer, and then you would pick a customer, and then the account and all is automatically populated. But since we don't want to do that, we'll remove this. So I'll just close this, and then click payment entry, and I'm going to put this to software. Yeah, you'll also notice that the account dropdown is like really fast, and the reason is because it's all cached. So yeah, let's hit submit, and that's created. Now I can show you what journal entry was created over here. So this was a journal entry that was created of type bank entry, and yeah, so it debits the bank and credits computer software, which is what it should be doing. So yeah, that's of type bank entry. Now the last one is of type transfer, and I'm going to see if I can find a transfer but for that I need to change my date range. So again, what I would do is April 2025. Okay, yeah. So I have some transactions over here. For example, this 50,000. This is actually coming from the Fire Bank or the Federal Bank, and so I can record a transfer. So a transfer is again a payment entry, but of type internal transfer. If you click transfer, now I didn't know that it would have a suggestion, but essentially what we do, right, is, okay, let's actually start with the regular transfer first, because this might be complicated. So transfer, oh come on. Okay, I might have transfers over here that we could use. Yeah, okay, this one. So this is again a transfer from Federal Bank, and so I'm just going to pick Federal Bank over here. So on a transfer, you can transfer from a bank account, credit card, or cash, right? And we show all of these accounts in a grid, just like over here. And when you select one, we change either the paid from or paid to, depending on where the money is. So in this case, the money is coming into HDFC, but it's actually coming in from something else. So this is a 50,000 rupee transaction that's coming in from Federal Bank. So I'll just click that and hit transfer. You can put in your custom remarks if you want. So again, you've recorded a transfer, and if I go to payment entry, okay. So in payment entry, right, you get account paid from, paid to, and you get your reference number and everything filled in. So it's actually pretty simple to record transfers like these, but then, remember how I stopped from making that other transfer happen? So let's say that you have I have this Vistara credit card, Access Vistara credit card, and I made a payment. Now, I was wondering, okay, so let's say if I have like 6-7 credit cards like I do, and then you've got 3 bank accounts, how would you know which bank account paid which card if this transaction was originating from bank account, FI or from HDFC or from SBI? Who knows, right? So to automate that, when you click on transfer, it will actually look for the mirror transaction. So mirror transaction on the same date, and so this only works if there's only one transaction, one mirror transaction. In this case it is. But as soon as I click on transfer, it gives me a suggested transfer to FI, right? The system found a mirror transaction. It gives you the transaction number in another account with the same amount and date. Accepting the suggestion will reconcile both transactions. Now this is really important. Earlier, what used to happen was that even if I created a transfer, right, it wouldn't be reconciled because it needs the other leg to actually set the clearance date on that voucher. But over here, if you click on use suggestion, it will pick the account correctly, and it has also accepted this suggestion. So we'll actually look at this transaction as well, this mirror transaction as well. So it's looking for, so this is a deposit, so it's looking for a withdrawal of the same amount on the same date. So as long as both transactions cleared on the same date, you would get this suggestion. We'll quickly open FI as well, and since the date range is the same, I know it will be there. And this would be a debit, and it would be a debit of 50,000, I think. Oh wait, not 50,000, sorry. This one, yeah. So I haven't reconciled it on the card side as well. It might be this one, I'm not sure, but if you click on transfer, so it tells you that it actually goes to Access Vistara, right? So the suggestions are in both places, but you'll see that this sits in the non-reconciled, unreconciled transactions list. If I go back to Vistara and credits, transfer, I'll accept the suggestion, it sets up the account, I'll hit transfer. Now I've transferred, and if I go back to FI, well, I'll have to refresh because, yeah, and that transaction is gone now. So it's already reconciled. I might have to add a logic where if you change bank accounts, it refreshes the unreconciled transaction list just for that case. But because we cache everything heavily, but anyway, so it's reconciled. Now I can actually search for it over here. This is the one, and if you click on view, this is a transaction and it's both reconciled to the same payment entry, but this payment entry is now linked to two transactions, right? One on the card side, the other on the bank side, and this is an internal transfer. So that's how the transaction actually helps you, like the transfer function helps you. And you could do it with other things. For example, this one, you could click on transfer and it will tell you, okay, yeah, I can accept that, and I hit transfer, and both accounts get reconciled at the same time, right? So those were transfers. So those are the three methods: record payment, bank entry, and transfer. Record payment is for your payment entry against a customer or supplier. As soon as you click on it, so let's see this one. Let's search for algo code. Oh, I don't have any. Oh man, no one paid me then. Huh. Very frustrating. No one's paying me. Anyway, yeah, I mean we could take, yeah, so you could match. You could record a payment against any supplier, and it would pull up your unpaid invoices. You could create a bank entry and split the transaction across accounts, or you could transfer. Okay, so that's like the basic function within Mint of how you can transfer accounts or reconcile transactions from your bank. Next is something like this, right? Do it in bulk. Now, this happens a lot for me on my credit cards, especially. As you can see, I order a lot from Swiggy. So if I just search for Swiggy, I mean, I want to put all of this into one particular account, right? And the way that you can do it is you hit shift and you just keep selecting. And you've selected all of these, and now you can, I mean, the recommended thing to do is, create a bank entry. So if you click on bank entry, and I just want to put all of this to drawings. So on the bank entry, the UI changes a little bit. You can't control a lot of the other things that you can in a regular bank entry, but when you're doing it in bulk, all of these transactions are just going to go to drawings, and you can just hit submit. You can pick your account and hit submit, and boom, you're done, right? Similarly, if you have, if you wanted to take these two and you wanted to record a payment against one party, you could do it. You could pick a party, you could say make my trip, and then change the account and hit submit, and it would record payments. But obviously you would then have to go to payment reconciliation to apply those payments to individual invoices. So you could record a payment, or you could do a bulk transfer, and you can just decide, okay, all of these were from Phi, and then hit transfer, and it will create, these entries in bulk. So you can just hit. So the way to do it is hit shift, 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 and then hit bank entry, record payment or transfer. So that's how you can reconcile transactions in bulk. Okay. Next, now we briefly touched upon this, but let's say if you unreconcile or you reconcile a transaction to the incorrect voucher in the system. Let's go back to this part, and let's say that this payment entry, I'm going to reconcile to this one, right? Just on purpose. As soon as you hit reconcile, you'll see that it actually gives you a toast with a button that says undo, and you can click on undo, and when you do this, when you click on undo, it asks you whether you want to unreconcile or not. It tells you the transaction details, right? In this case, the transaction was for 13,000, and the unallocated amount as of right now is 12, because we allocated this much, by matching it, and it tells you which, how this transaction is linked to vouchers in the system. and what's the reconciliation type. So this is again something that we track. In this case, I had matched it. So unreconciling is essentially, just hitting unreconcile on that transaction. It's the same thing as going to bank transaction and hitting unreconciled transaction. It's the same thing. So if I hit unreconcile, it gets unreconciled. You could also have other areas where you might, for example, let's say if I recorded a payment by mistake, let's not do it over here, let's do it over here. Let's say if I recorded a payment and I recorded a payment for this company and I hit submit, right? So this is going to create a payment entry, right? If I can either click on undo over here. Now when I click on undo, it tells me the voucher is created. So this wasn't a match, right? We actually created a new voucher, right? We created this payment entry. If you look at this payment entry, it's created just now, and we created it. And normally what you would do is you would have to go to the payment entry, cancel it, right? But over here you can just hit unreconcile, and it will essentially cancel the entry. It will cancel the entry, and your bank transaction will also be unreconciled automatically. If you did not catch that when that toast comes up, because that toast is there for like 4 seconds or something, you could go to the bank transaction list and search for that transaction, right? In this case, it was this one. So, and click on undo. Same dialog box, and if you hit unreconcile, and let's see this is cancelled now. And if I go back over here, yeah, I have the transaction again back over here. So that's how you can undo transactions. So if you matched it, it will just unreconcile. If you created a new voucher, like a payment entry or a journal entry, it will cancel and unreconcile. So that's how you undo transactions. And then finally, we have rules. So what you could do is you could set up certain rules, right, based on the transaction type. So think about it this way, that let's take this account. So anything that says Frappe Technologies and is an incoming one, I can pretty much say that is a payment coming in from Frappe. So if you click on this button, it's like a zap icon. Click on that and it will tell you, all the rules that you have. By default, you won't have any, but you can create a new rule. So let's create a new rule for Frappe payments. So we'll say payments from Frappe, any transaction or any deposit with the keyword Frappe Technologies. Yep. And so that's my rule description. I just keep it anyway. So in transaction type, either it can be either a withdrawal or deposit, or just a withdrawal or deposit. So I'll keep deposit. I don't need to set a minimum and maximum amount, but you could. And I'll show you some rules that I've created where this is really handy. And then what we want is that we want to match any transaction that says Frappe Technologies, to this rule. So we'll say Frappe Technologies, right? And you can add more rules. The other options that you have is that the reference or the description should start with a particular word, end with a particular word, or you can even keep your entire regular expression. So you can actually type in a regular expression to check for that rule. And I'm going to say that we need, it's not a bank entry, it's a payment entry, because if it's from Frappe, I want to create a payment entry, and it's a customer, and my customer is Frappe, and this is the account. So rule name, payments from Frappe, transaction type deposit, contains Frappe Technologies, suggest creating a payment entry from customer this. Now this rule, when I hit save, it won't do anything. What I want to do is I want to again run this rule. So by default rules will run every hour, but If you want to run rules on newer transactions, in this case, I think I will run it for all. So I'll just say force evaluate all. And so this will run in the background, right? And it will evaluate all of the transactions with all of these rules. And so I'll show you what that means. Now, these rules does not mean that it will create any accounting transactions on its own. No, it won't, right? It's just a method for autofilling, right? So that the suggested action is even more clear and it's easier. So I'm just going to hit refresh and let's see if that happened or not. Yeah. So you'll see over here that it says, there's this zap icon again and it says payments from Frappe. And it now actually suggests that, hey, we matched it to a particular rule, payments from Frappe. This is the recommended action. And the action type is to create a payment entry for this account, for this party. And you can just click on create payment entry and automatically your customer is filled in as well. And then all you need to do is just click get unpaid invoices. I think it's this one, might be this one, 16.5. Yeah, this is the one. And I want to allocate full. So allocate the whole thing, and this might be TDS. Yep, 4,500. It was a sales invoice of 45,000. So anyway, I hit submit, and you're good. Same thing over here. You can create a payment entry. It's again auto-filled everything. Get unpaid invoices. Pick this one. Select. Put this to TDS. And hit submit, and you're done. So I have set up a lot of rules for my personal account. So if you see, I have a lot of rules. So anything that says, that has the word grow in it, right? I might add next billion technologies into this. This is, usually a stock trading investment. So anything that gets taken out of my account but has the word grow, create a bank entry of shares in mutual fund investments. Similarly, food delivery, anything that says Swiggy, bundle technologies, Zomato, and they are of type withdrawal, create a drawing, suggest a bank entry. Anything with bank charges is that. Anything with Uber is that. It says conveyance. Any dividends that come in is of type deposit. Maximum amount is 1,000 because normally you don't get that many. But yeah. So I have a lot of rules, and what I can show you is, so for example, this one, Frappe Cloud. I just want to book this directly to, a bank entry of computer software. So it creates a bank entry, and if I click on that, it's already auto-filled everything, and I just need to hit submit. I might change this to a payment entry because I think Frappe gives me a GST invoice. I'm not sure, but let me see on my personal account. But if I go over here and let's actually expand our date range a little bit. Yeah. So for example, this is Blinkit. So I can create bank entry, right? It suggests a bank entry, create it and hit submit and you're done. So with rules, you can set up, multiple rules like this and it will auto classify. And so it's actually, doing most of the work for you. You can also reorder these rules. So for example, I can put this dividend one over here and it will update everything, or I can move it back over here and it will update everything. You can click on these three dots and delete a rule if you wanted to. And so yeah, with rules, you can actually automate a lot of these processes. So for example, this is a bank charge, create bank entry, submit, entertainment, submit. So yeah, that is all about Mint. I think I've covered everything. Automate with rules, and then you get suggestions like that. So yeah, that's Mint, and I mean this video is 55 minutes long. So yeah, I hope you try it out. I'm going to publish this on Frappe Cloud right after I publish this video. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys. Bye.